Hi, this Therapist Has Problems podcast. Hello, this is Natasha Montgomery, and welcome. This is the very first episode of the This Therapist Has Problems podcast. I have to be completely honest and transparent because this is the space for this. Have you ever given someone advice and then realized, okay, I need to listen to myself and follow my own advice? This has happened to me very recently. I was talking to a client and I said to them, you need to plan to start. Don't plan for perfection. A lot of times we get so lost in the planning of something that we never get started. And this is why I'm sitting here today. I have literally recorded this first episode of this podcast at least 6 times. No joking. And I had been so focused on perfection that I never got started. So today is today. Welcome to the This Therapist Has Problems podcast. I am Natasha Montgomery. I am a mom. I am also a daughter, a sister, a friend, a sorority sister. I'm also a licensed professional counselor as well as a certified life coach. Why are we here today? What's the point? What's the purpose? My main focus, my main goal of being a therapist is to normalize the conversation surrounding mental health. I know that especially in my community, African American community, we struggle a lot with talking about our mental health, and it is something that I am proud to see and say that has been getting better over the years. But I felt called to have this space to just be honest and have real conversations about mental health concerns. And I'm a human person. I go through stuff every single day. So I wanted to create a kind of behind the veil of a therapist to understand that even as a professional who is qualified, trained, licensed to help people through their most difficult journeys, I myself have struggles and issues and life problems that I go through. So as we go on this journey together, my goal is to create a space that is real, that is authentic, that is vulnerable, and let's talk about how we can get through our problems together. So let me tell you a little bit more about me, the whole purpose again of why we're here. I have some notes so I don't get off track. So I'll be looking over here a little bit, but what is my story? So again, I am a licensed professional counselor. However, in my own personal journey with mental health, I feel like throughout my life, I've always dealt with depression. I feel like I was always really quiet, isolated to myself. A lot of times I didn't have a space or feel like I had a space to talk, express my feelings. And I was always that go-to person that people came to listen, to talk, to share their problems. So I became the listener, and I realized that in becoming such a great listener, I had lost my voice. I had lost my ability not only to communicate my feelings, but to understand what I was feeling in any given moment. So as I went through my career, initially I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. I was pre-med in undergrad at Michigan State University. Taking a lot of science and math courses, quickly realized that is not my ministry. That is not my specialty. So I took a intro to psychology class and I fell in love. I understood, okay, this is what I'm truly called to do. I got a little off track in my career. I had my first career, which was in corporate America, doing credentialing and training. So helping doctors and nurses get trained, and basically HR for doctors and nurses. I led a couple of teams in different areas. And I was really good at it. I was really good at my job. I advanced in my career. I moved up through the corporate ladder, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. And I made a sacrifice and I said, you know what? I want to get back to what I'm actually called to do. So in that, 2 years after having a baby, I decided that I wanted to go to grad school and pursue my education in professional counseling. So at that time, I was married, 2 kids, one an infant, small toddler. I was working full time as a director of credentialing and training, leading a pretty large team. And I was still in the process of growing, developing my career. I mean, I was working over 40 hours a week while also in a master's program, while also trying to show up in the best way that I could as a wife and a mom. It wasn't easy. And then life was also happening in the midst of that process. But on that journey, one thing I realized is that I can't help people navigate through their life stuff if I am not authentic and honest with myself. So I started going to therapy. I started doing my work. I started working through my childhood trauma. And in that process, it led me to develop M.B.S Whole Health. M.B.S Whole Health is my private practice. I am the founder and owner. And the whole goal of that practice, which I identify, is that it is important to take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. When you're able to really focus on being your healthiest and best self in those three areas, that is how you obtain what I consider whole health. That is how you have a holistically healthy life. So I developed M.B.S Whole Health as a tool to help people specifically in the African American community to develop comfort with taking care of themselves, to understand the things that they are dealing with and going through. So that is my passion. That is my baby. And it's growing. I can appreciate that I now have other therapists that I'm also helping and mentoring underneath and working for M.B.S Whole Health. And the goal is really, like I said, to educate, to create an environment of compassion, understanding. I saw a lot working in corporate America, moving up that corporate ladder, and I recognized that a lot of leadership did not care about the human beneath the worker. So that is something that has been my focus as an employer, as a business owner. So to branch off from being a business owner, that is great, but I've always felt this push for more. I've always had this desire to be out in the community, be a reflection of what people are and who they are in their humanity. So that's why I'm here today, right? To have real conversations about mental health, understanding where we all are. We're all dealing with life every single day. So my goal is to create a platform where we can have real conversations. And this is not a one-sided conversation. I encourage as this grows, I know that God has the ability to touch and expand because this is for his purpose, and those who this needs to reach, it will. So my goal is to say, okay, how do we interact with each other to be a sounding board for one another, to reflect off of one another and help each other through the things that we are going through in our lives. So welcome to This Therapist Has Problems. I am dealing with my own problems, other people's problems, your problems. Let's figure it out together. So overall, in this situation, I want to ask you guys, how comfortable are you with talking about concerns with your mental health? Do you identify when you're struggling with areas of your mental health? Do you recognize that maybe you deal with anxiety, depression, overwhelmed with stress? And what do you do with those things? I know for some of us, it's like, oh, I just keep going. I have to hustle. I have to figure it out, which I definitely get. As a mom, single mom at this time, I've divorced. I'm trying to figure things out on my own. I understand the hustle mentality, and we'll definitely spend some time focusing on that. But what are you doing to take care of your mental health? What are you doing to make sure that you're building yourself up while you're pouring yourself out in other areas of your life? So how do we start this conversation? How do we get more comfortable? It's by leaning into platforms like this. It's making a decision that, hey, maybe I do need additional support. It is okay to admit that you're struggling. It's okay to admit that you can't figure things out on your own. It's okay to say, you know what, if I don't get this out, I'm going to break. So I've been there 100%. I've been there. And I myself, even as a licensed therapist, helping clients every single day, I have to check in with myself and say, you know what? I need to talk to somebody. And it's often not people around in my immediate circle. Not saying that my support system isn't great, but sometimes you need that unbiased sounding board. Someone who's going to be honest with you, someone who is not going to be judgmental of you, but someone who can walk with you and help you navigate through those difficult seasons of your life. So, my first kind of takeaway for today is, how do you go about finding a therapist? Okay, great. You're dealing with struggles in your mental health. You're recognizing that maybe I can't do this on my own. Maybe I do need some help, support, someone to help me navigate through the thick of things. How do I find a therapist? Couple things I always recommend for individuals who are looking for a therapist. First thing, if you are choosing to use your medical health insurance, the best bet that you have in making sure that you're able to find a clinician who is in network with your insurance is reaching out to your insurance. So on the back of your medical card, there's often a phone number for support. Sometimes they have different phone numbers if it's for physical health versus mental health. Oftentimes your medical insurance will have an app or a website where you can go on and search for providers who are in network. That way you already know the clinician takes your insurance. That's the biggest part often of the battle in finding a mental health professional. Once you identify a clinician who is in network, right, it's reaching out. So most of them have ability, check them out on their website. The great thing about now today, a lot of clinicians have a social media presence, right? So you can go do your research, look them up, see what type of topics they talk about, see if you have a feel for their personality, get an understanding of who they are. Reach out, schedule an appointment. Some clinicians will offer consultations, some will not. For myself, I used to in the very beginning offer consultations. I do not anymore. I think I've built enough of a social media presence for people to get an understanding of my personality, my approach in therapy. I also have a lot of information on my website, which I think helps people to make a decision on if I would be a good fit for them. So either schedule consultation, schedule your first appointment. The biggest part, right, is getting in the door. Once you make this commitment to working on yourself, take action, give it a try. Try and reach out to a couple of therapists if you need to. Try and get on their schedule in order to say, okay, how do you get this process going? Another resource that I always recommend, so I talked about reaching out to your insurance. Some companies have what we call EAP benefits. These are free sessions that they will offer. Sometimes it's 1 or 2, sometimes it's 3. I am partnered with Lyra, which is an employee assistant program, and they offer maybe 15, 20 sessions depending on what your company is contracted with them. So that is also a benefit as well that you can utilize. A really big directory that a lot of people use to find a therapist is psychologytoday.com. I am listed on Psychology Today. I think it's a very user-friendly site. You can go in, you can filter by your insurance. You can say if you want a woman, a man, race, specialties, insurance, specific topics that you want to discuss. You can filter all of that on that website. Identify some clinicians in your area who are currently taking clients. For my community specifically, I am also listed on therapyforblackgirls.com. Therapy for Black Girls is a really great directory if you're specifically looking for a African American therapist and you're looking for someone who is specialized specifically in that area. So that is a really good resource. There's also therapyforblackmen.com. And there's a lot of different other sites that you can go through. And a lot of times it's Googling, hey, I need to find a therapist in whatever your zip code is, and filtering there. The power of technology is that you have information at your fingertips. So if you have made it up in your mind and in your heart that you need a therapist, you can find one. It's a lot easier nowadays. You don't have to go through the yellow pages. For you young kids out there, the yellow pages was a book that we had to go through. It was in alphabetical order by specific things, specialty if you're looking for business, restaurants. We had to look in a book back then to find out information. Now you can just look it up on your phone. So, and TikTok. I know therapists have a love-hate relationship with TikTok, but like I said, a lot of clinicians are on social media. So again, you get a feel for your therapist's personality. All of these great wealth of resources out there. That isn't the problem. The first step, right, is making a commitment that you want to take care of your mental health, that you want to take that first step. I always commend my clients who show up and they're like, I've never been to therapy before. This is my first time. I want to give it a try. So to you out there, if you're like me, I'm this therapist has problems, you're this person has problems. How do we work through those together? It's by getting support, having normal conversations, being comfortable addressing what you're needing in regards to your mental health, and making a plan on saying, okay, I don't want to be in this space anymore. I want to do better. I want to heal. Let's figure out how we can do that together. So I appreciate you for being here today for my very first, sixth, maybe, but first launch episode of This Therapist Has Problems podcast. I am going to make a commitment to be more consistent. Again, I am not planning for perfection. I'm planning to start. So this is my official start, and I appreciate you for being here, whoever this lands on. I welcome you to join me on this journey of being authentic, being open, and addressing our concerns surrounding our mental health. Thank you for coming and stepping into my office, and I will see you next time. Bye.